Drew, you had me at Chick-fil-A. I didn't realize y'all were serving Chick-fil-A. I am all in. So, I'm Darline Graham, and I first want to provide my condolences to the family of Lexington County Sheriff's Department, Master Deputy Julian Olson. I am so sorry for your loss. Next, I want to thank you all for the heartfelt condolences, beautiful stories that were shared with me about Lindsay, and your prayers. You have helped me get through the past few very, very difficult weeks. I certainly never expected to be on this stage giving a stump speech. I've never had any desire to be a politician. I'm here today because I'm answering President Trump's call to serve. I want to stand up for South Carolina, and I want to fight for President Trump's agenda. Like I said, I'm not a politician, but like Lindsay, I am a hard worker with a servant's heart. Lindsay and I grew up in the back of a bar and liquor store in one room. Our parents worked hard every day to make ends meet. There was no time for sickness and very few vacations because if the doors weren't open, no money was coming in. My mother passed away when I was 11 and my father just over a year later. Lindsay stepped in to raise me. He was always there for me and I miss him dearly. For the last 30 years, my passion has been serving South Carolina. So when President Trump asked me to run for the Senate, I answered the call, and I am proud to have his endorsement. Thank you. For the past 7 years, I led a state agency with 130 employees and a $90 million budget. We turned it from a struggling organization into a national model. A little bit more about me and my values. I'm a mother, a grandmother, my grandson's here today, and a wife. My husband, the rest of my family are here. Thank y'all for supporting me. And one thing about me, I know how to bargain shop. I look for the buy one, get one free sales in the grocery store. I just bought a new pair of shoes to walk around the U.S. Capitol because I tell you right now, there's a lot of walking going on. I had blisters all over my feet. These are my new bargain shoes. I got them off the clearance rack. I cut my own grass with a push mower. And yes, I know how to use a weed eater. Lindsay was an expert on the federal budget. I'm an expert on the family budget. I have 2 daughters with health problems, so I know what it feels like to pay outrageous medical bills. I know there's not one business in the country that would let you put everything on credit like we do today with the federal budget. That's right. I believe that you have to show an ID to check out a library book, so you should have to show one to vote. That's right. And that's why the first bill I co-sponsored was the Save America Act. I hated the fact that Joe Biden let 12 million illegal immigrants walk into our country. President Trump and I are going to walk them right back out. I believe if you want to come to the United States, you do it legally. And if you want to stay here, you need to respect our American values, not ask us to live by yours. That's right. I support the right to life. I believe that every human life is sacred and deserves protection. Absolutely. I strongly support the Second Amendment, and I believe gun control is how steady you hold your weapon. I had a concealed weapons permit, and I got a 98 on the shooting portion of the test. I'm a volleyball mom, and I love nothing more than watching my daughter play. I know boys have no place in girls' sports, and they certainly have no place in the girls' locker room. I feel like I had the most successful first day of any conservative senator in history. You know why? The sun did not set before the ladies on The View were criticizing me. And I think Anthony Fauci should stop staring at the floor and answer the damn questions. I oppose DEI. I think AOC is CRAZY. I'm the first woman United States Senator in South Carolina history. My Democratic opponent, Dr. Annie Andrews, must not be the second. Dr. Andrews supports turning confused little boys into little girls and vice versa. I think she must be the worst pediatrician in the country. I stand up for the national anthem. I believe our veterans are heroes. I will always back the blue. I know that President Trump and I will make America great again. I'm Darline Graham. I'm a bargain shopper, and I am a hard worker who knows your struggles because I lived them too, trust me. I'm not an expert on Congress. I don't claim to be one. I'm an expert on the problems facing families in South Carolina. I'm asking for your prayers, and I want to earn your votes. I promise to work hard every single day for South Carolina. Thank you, God bless, and God bless America. Forgot about the question. I panicked over the red flag.
Hello, my name is Faith Vogel, and here is my question for you today. Ever since the presidential election of 2020, there have been concerns of fraud in the electronic election systems. Do you believe this is a significant problem, and how do you plan to keep American votes safe and secure?
Well, that is a really good question, and I'm already working on it. Like I just mentioned, I co-sponsor the Save America Act. I believe in voter ID and registered to vote, being a U.S. citizen, so absolutely. I'm already doing something about it. I support President Trump. I support the Save America Act.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Glenda Gail Parker, if you would go ahead and come up. You're our next candidate. And while Ms. Parker comes up, I'm going to take the few seconds I have. I neglected to recognize one or two people in the audience first. I hear our next Commissioner of Agriculture is in the audience, Cody Simpson. Cody, where are you? Brother Simpson? I know he's here. There he is in the back. Thank you, Cody. And folks, your next Lieutenant Governor and his wife, Mike and Sharice Rickenbaugh, here on the front row. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you, Governor. I'm Glenda Gail Parker. I'm the only independent that you all let on the ballot this year. I did meet the qualifications of voting in 2 of the past 3 primary elections, so I was qualified. I would hope that you would pay attention to what I have to say today, because 60% of the voters self-identify as independents. So I don't pretend to represent all of the 60% of the voters, because I've worked with independents and it's like herding cats. But I do want you to know that I have 2 things I want to talk a little bit about, about my campaign for positive, common sense solutions. And I also want to talk a little bit about myself. This is not my first rodeo. I have run for U.S. Senate twice in Virginia, and so as an independent, and I saw this as an opportunity to get on the ballot without having to collect all of those petition signatures that you privileged partisans require of us independents. But I do hope to participate in this public discussion, and I hope that you will find something that resonates with you. I think that this is my time. My career was in budget. I'm a budget analyst for the Department of Defense. And when I first entered into politics in 2006, we were saying the national debt is at $4 billion with a B. Well, the national debt is now at $39 trillion with a T. We can't keep this spending ourselves into a hole and trying to dig ourselves out. I have some positive solutions for that, and I feel that I'm sort of the person of the time, that Congress needs my skills. But my campaign is about positive solutions. I do support a lot of the president's agenda. I support the SAVE Act. It's entirely reasonable to present an ID when you vote. I support his efforts to clean up the elections. You know, we govern ourselves. We should not have to have legislation to get our elections and our election system cleaned up. We should start right now. And I support his efforts to find out who's in our country. We have a right to know who's in our country, what their health is, why they are here. The thing about it is, Congress, whenever they enacted legislation for immigration, they neglected to fund the enforcement of it. Well, we need somebody in Congress that's going to write legislation that funds the enforcement of it. If you, yes. So send me. I'll be happy to do that job. So I also support having a strong military. I myself am a veteran. I served 23 years. And one of the mistakes that I made when I ran for office before was trying to appear competent. Well, I am competent. And I did not want to talk about myself much. I didn't want the campaign to be about me. I need a strong ego and sense of self to run. Any politician does. But I did not want to make it about myself. I'm going to do something different and tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a country girl. I was born in the foothills of the Arkansas mountains. My mother and sister and I lived with my grandparents when my parents divorced about when I was 4 years old. My mother remarried my school teacher, and we moved to Oklahoma. And my accent then was so bad that the Okies made fun of me. So I have since tried my best to not have an accent, but I lived in Oklahoma until I was about my late 30s. I married there. I had 3 children there. I divorced there in about 73, and I raised my children pretty much by myself, and I funded my education myself through real estate transactions. I'd buy a house, live in it, keep it up, upgrade it a little, sell it for a profit, invest those in my college degree. And as I progressed with college, I got promotions. I started at the government as a GS2, and I ended up as a GS15 Thank you. I worked hard. I did a couple of all-nighters in the Pentagon whenever I moved from Oklahoma to Virginia. I also made a joke about when I moved. I said when I moved from Arkansas to Oklahoma, I raised the average IQ of both states. And then when I moved from Oklahoma to Virginia, it happened all over again. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the question, and I really enjoy the state. I live here, and I love your politics. So, with that.
Hello, my name is Bianca Moncrief, and my question, Balancing the federal budget is a top priority for the majority of conservative voters. Yet mandatory spending, including Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, makes up the vast majority of federal expenditures. In your opinion, which specific federal programs or agencies would you vote to cut or restructure to meaningfully reduce the national debt?
Well, that is a very good question. There is only three ways to balance a budget. Increase revenue, the T word, decrease spending, or grow the economy. Amazingly enough, the largest expense in today's budget, federal budget, is the payment on the national debt. Not the payment on the principal for the debt, the payment on the interest. So one of my positive solutions is to reduce the cost of transportation. If we reduce the cost of transportation, we can cut inflation. We can make everything more affordable. And we can, when the inflation is lowered, the interest rates are lower, and that means we pay less money on the national debt. The second one is the Defense Department budget. So I support our Medicare and our Social Security programs. If we want to go against big money, we've got to tackle that national debt. We've got to get the interest rates down. We've got to get our transportation down. And this is probably not something you want to hear, but we need to leave that oil in the ground. We need to find alternative transportation and alternative energy. And that's what I'm hoping that you'll hear on behalf of the independents and the environmentalists that sometimes I do support and represent. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Y'all give her a round of applause. So next up, we have Congressman Russell Fry. Come forward, sir.
How are we doing? Are y'all ready for November? Are y'all excited about November? Where, people try to run as moderate Democrats and they govern as Marxists. Are y'all ready to turn that back a little bit? Y'all ready for that? Hello, Lexington County. We hear you. It's great to be here. Drew, Alan, really appreciate y'all putting this on. Was part of the party when I first started as a college student, after college. So I've been there, I've done that, never got the t-shirt, Drew, still waiting on it. But it's important, the conservative movement is important to the high school students. Thank you for being engaged in this process. This future belongs to you. It is incumbent on all of us, from every voting age, to be engaged on the issues, to fight with a zeal, with a purpose, and to deliver this country a little bit better than you found it. So thank you for being here. It's really important. My name is Russell Fry. I'm from Surfside Beach. I grew up in Sockasty. So I can surf and I can knife fight, which surprisingly are really good qualities to have in Congress. I grew up in very humble beginnings. It was a cinder block house at Surfside Beach with no central heat or air conditioning. So the smell of kerosene is both nostalgic and disgusting all at the same time, for those of you who know what that smells like. But I watched from a very early age, and I just remember learning from my parents, and the things that really held us together at that time were our faith, our belief in God, hard work, little blue-collar hustle. I watched them strive. Nothing is guaranteed in this world. I wasn't born with a powerful political name or a powerful name. There was no family inheritance or money that were part of who we were, but they really pushed. And that's part of America. In 250 years, not many places, very few, can say that they allow somebody like me that grew up like that to go to school, put myself through school, to go to law school, to run for political office because I wanted to make a difference. That only happens in America. It's a truly special place. When I was 29, I decided to be a little wild and run for public office, Drew, because I felt, to the young people, I felt that we deserved a place at the table too. that people were ready for a real conservative, a fresh conservative on the scene, to not just talk about issues and complain about them to the news, but to deliver real conservative results. It's important. The future of this country is that important. While I was in the State House, okay. We love Joe Wilson. He's a great man. But what I fought for in the State House is the same thing that I think about in Congress, and certainly for this role, is that we need to keep your taxes low. Do you believe that? We need to protect the unborn. We need to make sure that our border is secure, right? We need to make sure that our communities are safe and that we back the blue with everything that we have. There is a record of accomplishment at the State House delivering those. And I decided, of course, to run for Congress. And, you know, as the president said one time, you know, we fried some rice. We fried that rice real good. And it's been remarkable. This is a great time to be in the thick of it. Because we have survived for 250 years because of the things I just talked about. But we are charting the course now. For what does the next 250 years look like? The decisions that we make, the people that we send, people are ready, I think, for a new generation of conservative leaders to take the mantle, to make sure that we are delivering on the promise to our children and our grandchildren. Are you ready for that? Is this going to be the first generation? Is this going to be the first generation in history, in American history, that says to our kids, my 9-year-old son, James, sorry guys, we screwed up. We tried. America's best days are behind them. Is that going to be us? No, it's not going to be us. And so we're faced with this situation now. What happens next in the United States Senate? Senator Lindsey Graham was a great patriot. He served with distinction. He was remarkable. We appreciate his service to our state. But people like me that grew up like I did, they wonder how they're going to get by with gas prices the way they are, with a bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. that crushes small business and innovation. They wonder how they're going to make it and buy their first home. These are all things that are part of what I view as the new American Renaissance. That is an opportunity to deliver to the next generation in this country, just like the Boy Scouts do with a campsite, just a little bit better than you found it. I see Steve Federico in the office. Steve, stand up for a second. Steve Federico, this is why I fight. His daughter was tragically killed in Colombia. I'm glad to see you here, sir. She was killed by somebody who was supposed to be in jail for 150 years, 30 felonies, almost 30 felonies, 37, I think, charges total. But it was a prosecutor that didn't do its job and a judge that didn't do its job. And one of the last things, Mr. Federico, that Lindsay and I worked on together was Logan's Law after your daughter, and you've been very much a part of that. That we're going to hold these prosecutors that act like public defenders, we're going to hold them accountable. The judges who are weak and soft on crime, we're going to hold them accountable. What happened to Logan Federico is not going to happen again. So thank you for being here. Look, we're at the Red. I'm at the Red. I would love to earn your trust and vote. August 11th, if you're voting for me. August 12th for everybody else. I'm kidding. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. And with that, I guess we'll take some questions. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Brandon Kruger, and my question is, if defending South Carolina's interests requires opposing what many would view as federal government overreach, such as offshore drilling policies or other actions that encroach upon the state's authority, how would you approach that responsibility, and would you be willing to challenge the federal government when necessary to protect South Carolina's interests, regardless of which political party controls the White House or Congress?
Well, I'm a big believer in that the 10th Amendment means what it says. Do y'all like the 10th Amendment to the Constitution? You know, our founders were they were so genius. They were very smart, and some of them were very, very young, but they were very smart in the way that they structured the government, and that certain things are constrained in the federal government, and there are certain prohibitions in our Constitution against government overreach. So the 10th Amendment means what it says. He referenced offshore drilling, but it could be on anything else. The state has been very clear. I think people have been very clear. I've been very clear. The governor's been very clear. We don't want offshore drilling off the coast of South Carolina. We do not want that. And what we found, thankfully, is a willing participant in President Trump and his administration in making sure that it might work for some states. We don't want that here in our state. So look, the 10th Amendment, I think most things should come out of Washington, D.C. The Department of Education should be eliminated and sent back to the states. A lot of things that are this bureaucratic overreach that crush our families and small businesses, we would be wise and we will deliver so much generational wealth if we got rid of the bureaucrats that think that they're in an ivory tower that are suffocating the rest of us, if we just dismantled it and sent all this stuff, a lot of it, back to the states where it belongs. But great question. Thank you so much. Y'all have an awesome day. Really great to be here. Thank you, Lexington County. And I'm looking forward to the challenge, and we'll see you at the Chick-fil-A lunch.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next I'm going to invite former governor and former United States Congressman Mark Sanford, if he will come up for his 5-minute remarks. And while he's walking up, I also want to say thank you to Steve Federico. I didn't see you in the audience. I'm glad your name was called out. We will never forget Logan. We love you. Thank you for being here today. Congressman.
Couple quick thoughts. One, Darlene, you remain in our prayers with our family and a whole lot of other families that are out there. Two, I would say, I want to repeat what you just said a moment ago, Drew. You're so right in that the founding fathers were so explicit in believing that a democracy, our republic, was not a spectator sport, and that it relied on the active participation of its citizens. And I just want to say thank you for doing all the little things that go with politics, because they matter. They add up. They're cumulative in ultimately preserving liberty and the conservative cause and the Republican Party, of which it's a great part. And so I just want to say thank you for what you all have done over the years. I also want to say, follow up the Reverend over there, and so many of you all have afforded me personal grace. I've come to believe very strongly in a God of second chances, and I think it's not just true in our personal sense, but it's true as well in the body politic. I mean, our country has been given a second chance, but we are at a tipping point in terms of what comes next, and it's vital that we take advantage of this moment. I would thirdly say, some of y'all have asked me earlier when we were out in the hallway, what you've been up to. And I've been in the logistics business. I built a logistics business over the last 6 years. And it's a hard, gritty business, but it has given me a whole newfound appreciation and reverence, if you will, for how hard we all work to earn a dollar. My dad tried to beat that into us as boys at the farm, but this has given me a new appreciation because these folks, you know, a lot of people worry about the mortgage payment. They're worried about rent payment. A lot of people worry about some fancy meal. They're worried about just food on the table, bread on the table. And it is a reminder of really how, though I love to talk about numbers because I started in finance and all that sort of thing, but really the sum total, the focus of our campaign is not about numbers, though I love to talk about debt, deficit, and government spending. It is about something real simple, and that is, how do you afford the American dream? How do we sustain the American dream? I mean, I think that ultimately that's what this race is about, because if you look at the numbers, you know, the average age of home purchase these days is 59 years of age. Did you know that 15 years ago, it was 39 years of age? I mean, literally, in just 15 years, it slid back 20 years. And what's that mean for my team, my workers, I mean, our team? It means for many of them, the American dream is sliding backwards. It's a goalpost that's moving. And so at the end of the day, I have gotten into this race because of those drivers that work as a part of my team in the logistics business. I've gotten into this race because of our 4 boys. Some of you all don't know this. I've gotten in this race because 7 weeks ago I became a grandfather, our little fella. And just for all of you all, because we share this value system of saying, wait a minute, conservatism is based on less government. Let's actually make that happen in Washington, D.C. And I want to go to those numbers for just a second because I think that they're fairly astounding in that, part of our country's starting point was no taxation without representation. Makes sense. But, if you think about a deficit is nothing more than a deferred tax. It's handing to you all the bill for government and us enjoying the services now. And so the numbers are frightening. We will add $1 trillion of debt to the national debt over the next 100 days, and we're not even having a conversation about it. What's even more frightening is the way in which those numbers are incomprehensible. So I'm going to think about this. If you stacked up $100 bills to equal $1 million, it'd be about 3.5 feet tall. If you stacked up $1 billion, it'd be about 0.67. You remember the high school track, about 2 times around the high school track, a little over half mile. But if you stacked up $1 trillion, it would be 670 miles tall. 670, so 3.5 feet, half mile, 670 miles. It's literally get in the car and drive from here to Newark, New Jersey with $100 bills stacked the whole way. That's $1 trillion. And what we know is that no civilization across the pages of time has ever been able to outrun math. I mean, not the Romans, not the Greeks, not the Brits. Go down and think about even a more recent example. Think about Germany. Did you know that in 1914 it took 4.2 marks to buy $1? By 1921, it was 90 marks to buy $1. By 1923, it was 4.2 trillion marks to buy $1. I mean, literally, you eviscerated economy, you tore up people's savings, and in desperation, in economic desperation, folks turned to somebody like Adolf Hitler. And so we're playing with real fire here when you think about the numbers. And I would just submit to this, I guess this thought to every one of y'all. If you have a plumber, a plumbing problem, you call a plumber. You don't call a roofer or electrician. And I would ask you to dig into my record in what I have tried to do in holding the line on spending. Because when I came in as governor, there was $1 billion financial hole, and we were able to close it. Now, was there a lot of fussing and fighting? Yeah. Carrying pigs in the state, all that stuff. But that friction resulted in a win for you as taxpayers. Similarly, when I was in Congress, the federal budget has only been balanced 3 years out of the 50. I was there for those 3 years because I was part of the class of 1994 and was part of the formula in holding the line on spending in Washington, D.C. And in fact, if you look at the numbers when I was governor, we held the line as no governor has ever done before or since in watching out for your pocketbook or for your wallet. I see the students coming on up, and I'm going to wrap it up because we're getting the red flag, but I'll say this. We are at a financial tipping point. And I have produced profound results for taxpayers across South Carolina on that front. I would ask us to remember what Ronald Reagan said in that our republic being but one generation from collapse if we don't watch out for it, or what Benjamin Franklin said in, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. I do ask for your vote, and I ask you to dig into my voting record in what I've tried to do for you on a taxpayer front and its implications for those you love. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Renee Fox. Recently, we have seen impacts in the United States due to the escalating conflict in Iran, such as increasing gas prices. How do you propose the United States move forward in ending this conflict?
I think that this is really important. I would ask that you look at my vote back in 1998 with Tom Campbell, as Tom Campbell and I had an amendment trying to say to President Clinton, you can't just unilaterally put troops over in Bosnia without congressional approval, because the Constitution is absolutely crystal clear that only the Congress can declare war. And we've gotten into this sloppy habit. And again, I did it with the Clinton administration. We ultimately ended up bringing a lawsuit against the Clinton administration saying this should not stand. Years later, in the Obama administration, when I was back in Congress, we actually they were using a 2002 statute as justification for operations in the Middle East, and they said, no, this doesn't cut the mustard. You need to come back to the Congress, ask for authorization, and I stand by that. Again, I stand by so many of the president's decisions. I voted with him 90% of the time I was in Congress, but on this administration and every administration, Republican or Democrat, needs to come back to the Congress to ask for the declaration of war, because that's what the Constitution requires.
Thank you, Congressman. Next up from Colleton County, Duke Buckner.
Good afternoon, Lexington. Such a blessing to be here. For those who don't know me, my name is Duke Buckner, and I'm from Walterboro, South Carolina, in the great county of Colleton in the low country of South Carolina. No stranger to the area. I grew up in Walterboro, got my degree from South Carolina State in English education, was a middle school English teacher, taught at the Walterboro High School English. And then my wife and I, we went into the newspaper business, and we published a weekly paper for 6 years. And I learned a lot about how to run and operate a small business, how to have employees and make payroll, and the challenges that small businesses face. And I also, my heart was to go to law school, so I finally got into a school down in South Florida, moved to Florida, sold the newspaper, and I graduated. And my first job was a public defender in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. And then my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer and asked me to come back home in 2009. Immediately got involved in the community, ran for Walterboro City Council, then opened my own law practice in 2012. And so I've been advocating and fighting for the good people of South Carolina for the last 14 years. And I am running for the United States Senate, and I'm very serious about this, to stop the socialist revolution from happening in our nation and in our country. And I want everyone to understand what the socialist revolution means. There are two revolutions that have to happen before we get to communism. The first is the democratic revolution. That's when the people rise up against the monarchy. We did that in 1776 when the patriots stood up and said taxation without representation is wrong, and they revolted and started this new country we call America. The second revolution that has to happen is called the socialist revolution, and that's when the government takes over private property, meaning you will own nothing. Private enterprise, you'll work for the company, but the government will tell you what to do. Means of production, so any type of manufacturing, the government would control it. And last, there can be no socialist revolution without the government takeover of agriculture. So you ask yourself the question, why is China buying up farmland? Because they know that if they can get the farmland in America, then they can control America, okay? So what do we do in Congress to stop that? We say no foreign nationals at this time can buy any land in the United States. You have to be a citizen to do so. We must stop the socialist revolution from happening. How do we know it's happening? In the great city of New York, the largest city in the country, just elected a socialist as mayor. And Mondami already wants to create government-run grocery stores. What's going to happen to the mom and pop grocery store? They will not be able to compete with the government store, and they're going to go out of business. And all that's going to be left is the government store. And you're going to go in there one day, and they're going to say you can only buy 1 carton of eggs or no carton of eggs or no milk or 1 carton of milk, and that's not how we do business in the United States of America. We are a free market, free enterprise, capitalist society, and any socialists that want socialism, they need to go to a socialist country. And I invite them to leave America and go be in a socialist country. We don't do that here, so that's why I'm running. The socialist message has become very palatable because of the high cost of food, rent, groceries, etc. We have to reduce that. How can we do that? 1, if you are an illegal, you will not be able to rent. You will not be able to buy a house in our country. We will not allow illegals to compete for goods and services with American citizens. They are driving up the cost of food and housing and gas and energy. So I'm with the president. They got to go back where they came from, bottom line. And so I'm running, and I'm asking you all to, this is serious now. All, you know, everything that everybody's saying is, but this, the socialist revolution, the next step is communism. And during communism, millions of people die through starvation. Look at North Korea. Look at Venezuela. Look at China under Mao Zedong. 34 million Chinese people died through starvation, suicides, or communist purges where they just grab you, take you outside because you don't agree with them, and shoot you. That is why our Second Amendment is so important. We cannot allow it to continue to be chipped away, because if the government is the only one that has a gun, guess what? They can come to your house, drag you out, shoot and kill you, and you won't be able to do anything about it. So a vote for Duke Buckner is a vote to keep our Second Amendment strong, to keep the government out of your pocket, and to reduce the size of government. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, my name is Faith Vogel, and my question for you today is, as upcoming seniors, all of us will soon be going into the world and dealing with the new high cost of living. What will you do to make South Carolina and our nation as a whole more affordable for future generations to come?
I'm going to get the illegals out of the country, make it more difficult for them to remain here. If you want to buy a house or rent, you're going to have to show legal status or citizenship. So I would expand the Save America Act to include those things. And once we get the illegals out, then that will lessen the demand, and we'll have more supply. So that's what we need to do. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our next candidate for the U.S. Senate is Congressman Ralph Norman. Congressman Norman.
Thank you so much for all of you being here. You know, I can feel an electricity when you see the numbers that are out here for each of you. And I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for giving your time, your tithe, and your talent. And the great thing about it I'm seeing now are new faces that are getting involved with our Republican Party as never before. So thank you. The second group I want to thank is, you know, the competitors, and I call them competitors, and Alan, you were good at saying this on the campaign trail. We're not competing against fellow Republicans. They're our friends. You know who we're competing with? The socialist communists that are taking over this country. That's our opposition. They're going to spend a lot of money in South Carolina come November, and we got to stop it. And it'll be here in less than 91 days. Folks, I think you need, when we pick the next senator for the next 6 years, you need to know who you're voting for. Ralph Norman's from Rock Hill, South Carolina. I got 4 children, got 17 grandchildren. I just turned 40 last week. Long before I decided to run for public office, I made a business with our family successful. I helped do that long before I got into politics. Construction business is going today because of my children who are running it and my brother. What do you get with Ralph Norman? Well, and you need to know this, you don't need to guess what you're going to get. You need to know what I'm going to do. I've been in Congress for the last 8 years. I've gotten the endorsement, and I say endorsement means they rank how you vote. Who you get endorsement from knows you. I've got A ratings, NRA, Club for Growth, Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, the Freedom Index, the Numbers USA, and folks, numerous others that I couldn't even name. Senator Mike Lee endorsed me off the bat. Senator Rick Scott endorsed me off the bat. Senator Jim DeMint endorsed me off the bat. Mark Meadows and Turning Point USA endorsed me. Why do I tell you this? Folks, I'm going to Washington to not fit in with Washington, as I have never done anyway. The Senate is the graveyard for good bills. I can't tell you the bills that we have passed that have become either watered down or non-existent. I talked to a senator at Lindsey Graham's funeral, which was, by the way, a tremendous tribute to Senator Graham. But I talked to a senator. I said, y'all are not, you're in session. They said, yeah. I said, what are you doing? Nothing. I said, folks, and I told him, that's the problem we have. I will go to the Senate. I know how it works in the House. I will go to the Senate, and the Save America Act, which is nothing more than knowing that you're an American citizen to vote for your representative. I will do whatever it takes to get that. That's top priority. If it means blowing the filibuster up, which, as President Trump says, they're going to do it anyway if they get back in power. Folks, we cannot let that happen. So we can't get 60 votes with the Socialist Democrats now anywhere. We've got a 53 to 47 majority in the Senate. There is no reason why we cannot pass the Save America Act. The umbrella, the America First agenda, which is a secure border, and as Duke mentioned, taking the illegals to the tune of 15 to 20 million out of this country. We do that. We have peace through strength with a strong military. We cut the national debt, as Governor Sanford was talking about. The cancer in this country is the spending. And Social Security is just a few years away from going completely bankrupt. Folks, that cannot happen. We cannot leave our grandchildren, our children, to face this mounting debt. And as the governor mentioned, it's unfathomable. So, folks, I will be a voice for these things. I will be a voice for enabling South Carolina to continue to be the great state that it is. I wish you realized the number of people that are coming here to South Carolina from Virginia. They've got a socialist radical governor now who campaigned as a moderate. There are no moderates anymore. The fact that they're taking office in New York, California, they're coming here. We've got challenges to meet here. And I will tell you the evil that we're facing when you kill a man who only went on college campuses to espouse Christianity and take questions in Charlie Kirk. That's evil. When Dr. Fauci is who you need to pull some of his, what he's testifying before now. He's taken the Fifth Amendment on everything. He killed 1 million people. He was in a coat and tie. He needs to be in an orange jumpsuit. And and let me say this, if they prove that an auto pen gave him his pardon, he needs to go on trial, folks, because what he did. There were 435 members of Congress. I'm the only member that stood with the frontline doctors to say, the doctors were saying this is all a hoax. COVID is a hoax. You have treatments, hydroxychloroquine, that they had. Folks, send somebody. You know what you get with me. I will do the job for this state, and it'll be an honor to serve you. God bless you.
Hello, my name is Bianca Moncrief. My question is that securing federal funding for major local infrastructure projects often conflicts with national budget constraints and calls for reduced spending. How do you plan to balance fiscal discipline with securing essential federal resources for our state's critical infrastructure projects?
Well, the way you do that is have offsets. What the DOGE Commission did, it found over $100 billion of cuts that I could take to each one of you. You would say, you know, building walls in Libya doesn't make sense. Cut this. The funding for fish hatcheries in the Pacific, you cut that. It's not even a question. But Republicans and Democrats are at fault for this. So I'm all for infrastructure, My real estate business, you depend on infrastructure, but you know where your money's going before you spend it. There's got to be a return on the investment. It's got to be, at this point, it's got to be offset. And if we don't have the courage to take offsets and cut what's going out the door, we don't deserve to be up there. And you got to put people in office who will even sacrifice, if it means coming home to take a tough vote, you do it. Good question.
Thank you, Congressman. Next up from Spartanburg County, Mark Lynch.
Welcome, everybody. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Alan and Drew, and the young Republicans, and all the citizens of Lexington and all over the state that drove here to be here today. I want to say to Darline, we're still praying for you and your family at that tragic loss of Lindsay. And we're praying for Jillian Olsen, who drowned or died in a diving accident here in Lexington. That's a horrible thing. So who am I? I'm Mark Lynch. I'm a lifelong South Carolinian. I went to the University of South Carolina and majored in advertising and public relations and had worked in my family business. My father started in 1951 all my life. Came home, but I had a problem, and I got hit on this really bad with a lot of crazy attack ads running against Lindsey Graham, and I finished second. We took 30% of the vote, right at 30. And we're still in this race. God called us to this race, and I come in the name of Jesus Christ to restore the Judeo-Christian values this country so desperately needs. But I had a problem in addiction, and I had 3 DUIs, and I had a felony cocaine charge, and I came to the bottom of my life. I hit rock bottom, and I reached out and grabbed God's hand because I was saved at 11, but I wandered, and I took his hand and came back and made him the Lord over my life. And we've helped thousands of addicts come out of the lives of addiction into freedom in Christ. I met my wife, Sarah, in a recovery program, and we both have over 40 years clean. What does that mean? It means I've come through the fire, and I've persevered, and I've surrendered everything I have to the Lord. And I'm here to bring those values into the Senate. We've done mission trips all over the world. The next mission trip is the swamp in D.C. When I bought my father's business back in 1985, we had a buy-sell agreement when I got my life straightened out, and I started doing good things. And he said, do you want to buy into this business? I've been waiting. Your older brother and sisters didn't want it, and we did that. And I grew a business that had 5 of us. I was one of the 5. We've grown it over the last 40 years to 110 employees. We're a job creator. And the business has grown 35 times under my direction with God at the center. We have a chapel in our company, and it really makes it easy when Jesus is your Lord, because I don't ever have to make a decision by myself again. I'll bring biblical values and constitutional values to restore what America was founded on. That's the only answer. You want to make America great again, we've got to bring God back first. This chaos and crazy stuff and nonsense that's going on has got to be fixed. And as a businessman, I know how to fix things. It's not talking, it's doing. And a lot of these people that are running this time have been in Congress. And, we have a lot of problems still that we're inheriting if I get in to try to fight for this. The young people see it. And, we talk about socialism and communism. America's under attack in every way. One of the things we've got to quit is murdering our own children in the womb. I'm 100% pro-life. We've murdered over 64 million of our own children in this country, and God's hands are off until we end that, and that's my first platform I'll fight for till we finish it. We can't do it. God creates a life at conception, and we don't get to murder it. So I'm all about that. Talking about how else did I get into this is from my national security consulting work with a gentleman named John Guandolo. He fought against the Islamic infiltration. He was the head of the anti-terrorism division in the FBI for 13 years after serving in the Marines for 15 years. I met him in 2014 and worked with him and General Mike Flynn, who fully endorses me. We've got problems. We've got 132 Islamic training camps, and one of them's been in York County for over 30 years. And that was one of the first of 132. Mamdani, you mentioned, and socialists, communists coming in here, one thing he is a Muslim. And all Muslims are jihadists, and jihad is warring against all non-Muslims, and there's not another version of Islam taught anywhere in the world. And that all got squashed, and they didn't talk about that anymore after about 2 weeks when he decided to run. They only called him a socialist. And we are dealing with socialist, Democrat Socialist Party, and we're dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. And, you know, we've been selling our land and allowing our land to be sold to China. That's crazy. We can't do that. You know, and the Epstein files, everybody's tired of that. When are we going to bring back the rule of law and start arresting people, right? We're not taking care of things. It's just a news thing for 2 or 3 years until the next distraction comes out and we go over there and deal with that. You know, we're talking about the war and gas prices, and there's a lot of questions about Israel. Listen, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, was a Jew. I love Israel. But I don't work for Israel. I work for y'all if I get elected, right? And as a businessman, we're bankrupt. We can't afford to be in war. We can't afford to take the budget and pay $5.67 billion to illegal aliens in this country. We don't have the money, and I don't have that. You know, we've been debt-free since 1999. And when my wife and I prayed about this, and we answered God's calling and the people that saw what I was doing, because we fought against the police and OSHA and DHEC to keep our business open. They were letting the big box stores stay open, but closing family businesses. We had to apply to be essential. They left the abortion clinics open and liquor stores open, but closed the churches. Is anybody paying attention to that? We've been fighting that because our people that have been in government didn't. And we fought it ourselves at home and led rallies and went to the State House and told the governor to open the state after he closed South Carolina 33 consecutive 2-week periods in a row. I'm tired of it, and I have 4 grandchildren, and that's why we're fighting. And I pray that you'll go to lynchforsenate.com, check our platform out. We talk about the hard things nobody wants to discuss. And I would ask that you pray to God and ask for His will. Who does He want to win this Senate seat? Because that's what I want.
My name is Brandon Kruger, and recently an NPR article was published and retracted stating that Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito was retiring. In the event of a seat opening in the Supreme Court before the end of President Trump's term, what specifically would you look for in a nominee?
Is he a believer? You know, when our country was founded, you had to love Jesus Christ. God was all in it. That's why we came here and created this great experiment called America. And that's the only thing, like I say again, it's just like with me, people I associate with and people I'm held accountable by, they have to love Jesus, and I give them the authority to keep me accountable. I'll do the same thing in the U.S. Senate, and we've got to have a judge that's for America. And America was founded on God's principles. And if he doesn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, he's not in the running. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. All right, good to see you too. All right, next we have Mark McBride, our next candidate for the United States Senate, who will be making his way up. We have 2 more. We're down to our last 2, folks, so bear with us. We're getting there.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here today. Governor, thank you. Drew, your staff, the party, the River Bluff High School. And I want to start off by saying thank you to God for allowing me to stand here before y'all today. I want to thank my wife of 39 years, Laura, for being here today, and my daughter, one of my 3 children, is here today. I want to thank them. Let's start with the River Bluff High School. I'm gonna give y'all a couple different numbers to think about today. And before we start all this, I want you to listen, not because of my signs, not because of the polls and everything you're seeing. Please, for the future of this country, listen to my message. And starting with that, I'm going to have 3 numbers to start off with: 47, 35, and 23. 47 years ago, I challenge you and encourage you. My mom and daddy moved to Myrtle Beach in 1978. I was a 9th grader that was from not around there, and I didn't fit in. In 10th grade, I became 10th grade class president. 2 years later, I became student body president and the vice president of the FCA. Then I went to Boys State. I went back to Boys State as a counselor. So I encourage you, who knows, maybe y'all will be up here one day in 47 years and you will be like Miss Graham. You will be the senator. I'm running to be the senator. The next number is 35. 35 years ago, I was worried about the city of Myrtle Beach and the little issues, the lady who couldn't get her trash picked up, the people that had problems in their neighborhoods. I wanted to get involved. So 35 years ago, I ran for city council. Ran for council. After that first 4 years, what do y'all think I did? They made me mayor. After that, they made me mayor again. And what does it mean to be the mayor of Myrtle Beach? During that time, I welcomed 120 million people to the city. I've passed $100 million budgets. I've voted against budgets that weren't right. I've appointed judges, hired administration, hired legal, $1.9 billion in building permits, created 3,500 jobs. So I believe I have something to offer. So that's 35. Then 23, what does 23 mean? 23 years ago, I stood in the stage and Laura and I drove starting on January 3rd of 2003, and we drove all over this state, put 50,000 miles on the car. And what was that campaign for the United States Senate? About was putting America first. That's what Jim DeMint wrote in the book after it was all over. And today, if you go back, I still have my rack card that says what I stood for, and I still stand for the same things. And then Mr. Trump came along. He came down the escalator, and he picked up issues to run on. You know what he ran on? He ran on my platform from 2023. I remember being pulled aside. We were speaking in Hilton Head, and this older man came up to me, and he leaned over to me after I spoke, and he said, "Shut your mouth." And I said, "Sir, what do you mean?" Because I was speaking against President Trump and NAFTA and No Child Left Behind. When I disagree with people, I don't have a problem speaking up. That man said, "Shut your mouth, wait your turn." I won't do that. Duke spoke. How many of y'all agreed that China should be coming in here and buying our farmland? Okay. What did President Trump do after he went on his latest trip to China and came back? He said, it's okay. So everything President Trump does isn't right. And it's okay to disagree. After 39 years, I'll tell you, Laura and I don't agree on everything. But you work through those issues. So the war, it's interesting. Nobody on this stage really brought out the war until it came from a high school student. As the mayor of Myrtle Beach, one of the things I did was I did proclamations, and I've been sued by the NAACP. Ellen DeGeneres' mother has protested me. In fact, one night at the House of Blues, RuPaul stood up on that stage and said, "What kind of state do we have? We have Strom Thurmond and Mayor Mark McBride." So I think you can understand where my positions. But coming back to the war, we have to get out of the war. It's no different than the hurricanes. When the hurricanes would come to Myrtle Beach and it shuts everything down, the city's operating underneath. Right now, the war is operating, all the intention, all our direction. We have to stop the war. It's the economy, war, immigration, still one of those issues from 2003, Social Security, the national debt. Governor Sanford's absolutely right. The national debt is terrible. But if you don't have the gas to get to the job you hope to have, and you don't have the money to buy the food, nobody really cares about how bad the national debt is, because the clowns in Congress that have been there have gotten it to that point. So every week, every day the war continues on and we're not making changes is a week closer to the Democrats winning in November.
Hello, my name is Renee Fox. Recently, there have been mass protests across the country over immigration enforcement. What is your position on immigration enforcement in South Carolina and the United States?
2003, platform, build the wall, English is the official language, in-chain migration. I stood in Columbia, and everybody in the room was cheering at the state convention, and in no disrespect, please understanding in this no respect, the people agreed. Senator Graham walked up after me and said, no, we're in South Carolina, we're not going to do that. So 23 years later, we have immigration problems. I just saw today, Myrtle Beach is hiring a new police chief. There's 4 finalists to be the new police chief, and one of the finalists is the chief out of Roanoke, Virginia, and he publicly says he won't work with ICE. That's Myrtle Beach. I guess that's why I'm not the mayor anymore, but we have to defend our borders. The people have to be sent gone. ICE is right. Biden, what he did was wrong, but that's a failure because of the last 20 or 25 years. We haven't done what was right with immigration. Thank you.
Next up, from Lexington County, Sam Shepard.
I love my audience. My name is Sam Shepard, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate for South Carolina. It's very difficult to be last. A lot of the key topics, I had a 27-page speech. I threw it away. Most of these Republicans are covering the basic tenets of what we stand for. But I'm here to tell you the problems that we currently have and who I am not. And I'll follow up with who I am. I'm not a career politician. I'm not going to pad my bank account with the proceeds from the Senate. I'm not going to go to the Senate and expect bills to be written to support my business. My entire premise is to straighten out as much as we can these problems on affordability, tax and spending. We have a very serious problem, as each one of these candidates have told us about. It took us 50-plus years to get a $39 trillion debt. I'm a mathematician. Duke was right. It is a phenomenal number. And we've got to get it under control. The problem is, it took us 50, 60 years to get here. It may take us another 50 or 60 years to get out. No one has the answers. I'm going to be totally transparent with you. It's going to take a struggle and a sacrifice for us to get this country straightened out. Now let me tell you who I am. Academically, I have undergraduate degrees in chemistry and physics. I have a bachelor's of science in chemical engineering. I have a master's in biochemical engineering. I went back because of the conflict between my faith and science and got a doctorate in divinity, specializing in biblical studies and systemic theology. Mark Lynch, and that's why I shook his hand. God is in control. We are not. How we address these issues and the pain that's coming upon us. I developed non-lethal weapons for the Department of Defense under what's called DARPA. Is anybody here familiar with DARPA? Yeah. It's a very black opsy research center for the Department of Defense. I helped develop electromagnetic pulse weapons that could change the way you think, change the gamma frequency in your brain. And it was done to instill fear into enemy soldiers. Now, if somebody comes in with uniforms and tries to arrest me for telling you something I shouldn't, then I hope you all stand up and support me. But I developed electromagnetic pulse weapons and auditory weapons. These weapons exist. In 2003, I may have gotten a little too close to something I shouldn't have. And I was diagnosed with incurable bone cancer. I was a dead man walking. There was no cure. For 4 years, every month, I went in and was phlebotomized. My blood would get so thick, my blood pressure was 280 over 160. I knew I was going to stroke, and my family was going to have to take care of me. There were some very, very difficult decisions to be made. But I believed that God gave us gifts and put us on this earth for a specific time. So I found a cure. And I found why we get cancer, heart disease, and inflammatory diseases. And the product that I ended up producing was the only patented product allowed by the Patent Office. No side effects. It's now in 26 countries in all 50 states. Now, in my pledge, I'm also pro-life. I believe that life starts at conception. I also believe in term limits. I don't believe that we should make a career. As George Washington said, he went home. And as a result of that, my entire salary is going to be pledged to research cancer and inflammatory disease. I know how to make the changes. I know how to fight very, very difficult problems. And I hope that each one of you will send Sam Shepard to the Senate. And let's straighten out a lot of this and stop the political insanity. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Faith Vogel, and my question for you today is, conservative foreign policy increasingly emphasizes an American-first approach and scrutinizes foreign financial aid. In our unpredictable global climate, how do you plan to balance minimizing overseas intervention with maintaining necessary defense alliances and protecting U.S. security measures?
Great question. I have a bust of Donald Trump in my office. I truly believe that America's first. What we're going to find is that when he knocked U.S. aid the Democratic Party collapsed. What does that tell you? Look at the corruption that we have. Let's straighten up our own backyard. When you're on an airplane, what's the thing they tell you if there's in case of an emergency and the mask drops out? Put the mask on yourself first and then put it on your child. That's going to be my stance. We are first. We should be proud of who we are as Americans. Don't underestimate your strength. I spent 3 years in China. I know how the Chinese work. I'm the only candidate up here that funded an Israeli brigade with my own money. Fight the real problems, identify them, and fix them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.